Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be looking at this article, Restart, by Balazs Vendler. It really kind of hit home for me, and I think it's going to resonate with a lot of our listeners,
Yeah.
especially those of you who are over 40 and maybe feeling like, what am I good at? What am I doing? What's next?
Yeah. I mean, it's so common, right? To hit a point in your career where you're just like, this is it?
Yeah, for sure. It's easy to just get caught up in the day-to-day and forget to kind of zoom out and look at the bigger picture.
Totally. And Wendler, he's achieved a lot, but even he's talking about this feeling of being lost or unsure of his talents. So it's definitely not just a midlife crisis thing. It's something a lot of us grapple with.
Right, and what I appreciate about this article is that he doesn't pretend to have all the answers. He's really honest about his own struggles, which makes it feel so much more relatable.
Absolutely. He actually compares the process of self-discovery to a deep tissue massage.
Ouch.
Yeah, right?
Hmm.
It can be painful to confront those areas where we're stuck, those career knots that we've been ignoring.
But ultimately, it's necessary for growth.
Exactly. Like, you're not going to get stronger if you don't work those muscles.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
So one thing that Vendler talks about is this silence around talent. What do you think he means by that?
Well, it's like this unspoken rule that we shouldn't brag about our accomplishments or acknowledge our strengths too much.
Yeah, it's almost like we're afraid to claim our brilliance.
Right. Like, it's somehow arrogant or boastful to say, hey, I'm good at this.
So why do we do that? Is it some kind of cultural conditioning?
I think there's definitely a cultural element to it, but it's also tied to fear. Fear of judgment, fear of failure, fear of standing out.
Especially as we get older. Those fears can become even more ingrained.
Yeah, because we have more to lose, right? We've built careers, families, lives. It feels risky to rock the boat.
In Vendler himself, he talks about these doubts, right? Like he wonders if writing is enough, if he's making a real difference.
And that's so powerful to hear from someone who's achieved so much. He's still grappling with these big questions about purpose and meaning.
Which is reassuring because it means that those doubts don't just disappear when you hit a certain level of success.
Exactly. It's an ongoing process.
Right.
And sometimes those questions lead us to surprising discoveries about ourselves.
Like Vendler's realization that his talent isn't so much in his own writing, but in recognizing the talent in others.
It's like he has this superpower of seeing potential that other people can't even see in themselves.
Which is a pretty amazing talent in itself.
Totally. And it highlights something really important. Sometimes our greatest strength are the things that come so naturally to us that we don't even recognize them as special.
It's like we dismiss those talents as no big deal because they don't feel like a struggle.
Exactly. And that's why it's so valuable to have someone else point out those strengths to reflect back to us what we might not be able to see ourselves.
So I want to ask our listeners, has there ever been a time when someone saw potential in you that you didn't recognize?
I mean, for me, yeah, it completely changed the trajectory of my career. I never would have considered this path if someone hadn't pointed out my strengths in that area.
That's so powerful. It's like that external validation can give us the permission to believe in ourselves.
Absolutely. And that's what Vendler is advocating for. He calls it a quiet revolution.
A quiet revolution. What does he mean by that?
Well, it's not about some loud, flashy movement. It's about those individual choices we make, the way we view ourselves and our potential. It's about daring to embrace our talents and use them to make a difference in the world.
That's a beautiful vision.
Yeah.
And it's something that I think a lot of us are craving, especially those of us who are over 40 and maybe feeling like we're at a crossroads in our lives.
It's about recognizing that it's never too late to start over, to reinvent ourselves, to find work that truly lights us up.
So let's dive deeper into this idea of a quiet revolution in part 2 of our deep dive.
We'll explore what it looks like in practice and how it applies to those of us who are feeling a little lost on the career front. So this quiet revolution, it's kind of a catchy phrase, but what does it actually look like?
Right. How do we go from feeling stuck to actually embracing our talents and making a change?
Well, Vendler talks about the importance of recognizing those talents, even the ones we might consider hidden.
Hidden talents.
Yeah. Those things we're good at, but we don't really think of as talents because they come so easily to us.
Oh, I see. Like maybe you're really organized or you have a knack for making people feel comfortable.
I bet those are talents, and they can be incredibly valuable in the workplace.
But sometimes we just dismiss those things as no big deal.
Right. And that's why it's so important to pay attention to what we enjoy doing, what comes naturally to us, what gives us energy.
Especially for our listeners over 40 who might have spent years in a career that doesn't really light them up.
Yeah, it's never too late to rediscover those passions and talents that maybe got pushed aside.
And Wendler himself, he went through this process right. He started questioning his own path, wondering if writing was really his true calling.
And that's so relatable. I think a lot of us reach a point where we're like, is this all there is?
Totally. And what's interesting is that Wendler's doubts actually led him to his biggest discovery, that his talent lies in recognizing the talent in others.
Yeah, it's like he has this gift for seeing potential that other people can't even see in themselves.
And it's not just about seeing potential, it's about helping people to cultivate those talents, to actually put them into action.
Which brings us to another key point. Wendler isn't just talking about self-discovery for the sake of personal fulfillment. He's interested in the practical application of those talents.
Right. He wants to see people using their skills to make a real difference in the world,
And he's not afraid to talk about the financial aspect of it either.
which can be a touchy subject, especially for those of us who are over 40 and might have more financial obligations.
Sure, but Wendler believes that we can create a more sustainable and fulfilling way of life by aligning our passions with our work.
So how do we actually do that? How do we bridge the gap between what we love and what we get paid for?
Well, that's where Wendler's entrepreneurial spirit comes in.
He's not just advocating for this quiet revolution. He's actually building a business model around it.
Exactly. He envisions a platform where people can connect, share their skills, and support each other's growth.
It sounds kind of like a talent ecosystem.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. He wants to create a space where everyone can thrive.
So it's less about cutthroat competition and more about collaboration.
Right. It's about recognizing that our success is interconnected, that we can achieve more together than we ever could alone. It's about creating a system where everyone can win, where talent is celebrated and supported.
So how does this actually work in practice? What does this talent ecosystem look like?
Well, Wendler is still in the early stages of developing this, but he talks about a platform, a sort of online hub where people can showcase their skills.
So like a LinkedIn, but for talents?
Kind of, but it's more than just a networking site. It's also a place where people can find collaborators, mentors, and even clients.
So it's like a one-stop shop for anyone who wants to tap into their potential.
Exactly. And the beauty of it is that it's designed to benefit everyone involved. Talented individuals get the support and exposure they need. Businesses gain access to a diverse pool of skilled professionals. And society as a whole benefits from the unleashing of all this untapped potential.
It sounds almost too good to be true, but I have to admit, it's an inspiring vision.
It is, and it's a reminder that there's so much potential out there just waiting to be unlocked.
Especially for those of us over 40 who might be feeling like our best years are behind us.
Wendler's message is that it's never too late to start over, to reinvent ourselves, to find work that truly lights us up.
And that's what this quiet revolution is all about. It's about taking ownership of our talents and using them to create a more fulfilling and meaningful life.
It's about recognizing that we all have something unique to offer the world.
And that by supporting each other's growth, we can create a more vibrant and thriving society.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to challenge our listeners to think about what their own quiet revolution might look like.
What is one small step you can take today to reconnect with a talent you've been neglecting? Or to explore a new path that's been calling to you?
Maybe it's dusting off that old guitar, taking a class, learning a new skill. Or maybe it's just giving yourself permission to dream bigger, to imagine a future where your work and your passions are aligned.
Whatever it is, don't let fear or self-doubt hold you back.
Remember Wendler's analogy of the deep tissue massage? Sometimes the most uncomfortable experiences lead to the greatest growth.
So take that first step, however small it may seem.
And trust that the journey will unfold as you go.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Balazs's Wendler's Restart.
It's been a pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
We hope you found it as inspiring as we have.
Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep believing in the power of your own unique talents.